Hey guys, how's it going? Justin here with Keystone Mountain Outdoors. Welcome back to the channel. So what I wanted to bring my viewers is a video on the Dillon RT1500 case trimmer. In my personal opinion, it's one of the most underrated reloading tools out there. There's not a whole lot of information out there about it. There's not a whole lot of videos on YouTube about it. So I wanted to give you guys a rather in-depth video on the RT1500 trimmer. And in order to do that, I decided right off the bat that I wanted to keep the videos rather short for time, so we're going to split it into a couple part series. So today we're going to be doing an overview, unboxing. I'm going to tell you guys everything right off the bat that you need to know about the RT1500. In a future video that I'm going to upload probably after this one, we're going to show you guys how to set it up to utilize it to process 223-556 brass, which is really cool. And then in another following video, I'll show you guys one of the coolest features about this unit here, and that is its ability to convert 223-556 brass to 300 blackout brass with literally the pull of the handle on your reloading press. It is absolutely amazing, some of the stuff that this thing can do. And if you're interested in that, go down right now and hit that subscribe button, ring that bell if you haven't already. That way you guys will get notified whenever those videos get uploaded. So let's get into the RT1500. What is it? Well, the RT1500 is a press-mounted case trimmer from Dillon. A lot of people tend to think that this is a Dillon only kind of deal, but it's not. It's standard die threading. It has standard die threading, and it's able to be used on many different presses, whether it be an RCBS rock chucker, a Hornady lock and load AP, a Redding T7, go down the line. There's many presses. As long as you have the height to utilize it. For example, it's not going to work on something like a Forester coax because of how the handle is going to interfere with it. But most of your traditional style presses, whether it be turret, progressive, or single stage, this is going to work. The cool thing about it is that it is going to resize and trim your brass at the same time. A lot of times, at least the way I do it, is I'll run my brass through a press, whether it be my progressive or my single stage, and I will resize the case, and then I'll bring it over here, and I have this little Hornady trimmer. I'm sure most of you guys are familiar with this, and I'll just trim my brass utilizing this, and then proceed with my reloading process. With the Dillon, it does both of those steps at the same time. And if you do have a progressive, such as a Dillon 750 or 550 or a Hornady lock and load or whatever you may have, you literally can just put your brass in your case feeder. You could run your handle, and whenever you have the trimmer set up, it will allow you to trim your brass without even having to touch it. There's some pros and cons with this, which we're going to get into, but before we get into any of that stuff, what I want to do is flip the camera around and I want to unbox this thing. We're going to show you guys what comes in the box, what you're going to get, and then we'll come back, we'll talk pros and cons, and we'll talk about some accessories and stuff that you're going to need to go with this thing to actually utilize it. So let me get the camera flipped around, and then we'll be back to finish talking here in a minute. Alright guys, so here is how the RT1500 comes packaged. It's in a rather plain Jane white box. Opens up, and inside it, I bought this one from reloadeverything.com if you guys are curious. Inside it, you're going to get a manual. It covers basically all the Dillon precision case preparation products. So you can see that stuff. There's the trimmer. That's page 7 for the instructions for that. Inside here, what we are going to have is our trimmer itself. This is basically what you're paying for. You can see it has a nice cutter on the bottom here. This is what's actually going to be doing the trimming portion. The power adapter is up here. And yeah, in a nutshell, it's just a heavy little 1/4 horsepower electric motor. You're also going to get an assembly bag that's going to have a lock ring. You're also going to get a vacuum adapter. So the vacuum is actually going to hook up to this. You guys will see it in a future video whenever I show you guys how to set this up. But you hook this thing up to a shop vac to suck out all the brass shavings. Also, your power adapter. So pretty basic, doesn't come with a whole lot, but it comes with basically what you need. Everything except for a die, which most reloading stuff doesn't come with your dies you need because they don't know what dies you're going to be using because they're caliber specific, right? So let's flip the camera back around. We'll tell you guys some stuff that you may want to buy, some stuff that you're definitely going to need to buy, and go over pros, cons, stuff like that. So let me flip the camera back around and we'll get back at it. All right, guys, so now that you guys seen what comes with the RT1500, let's talk about what doesn't come with the RT1500. Now, depending on what you're using this for is going to depend on what you need. But at the bare minimum, you're going to need what's called a trim die to utilize this. There's many different companies that make trim dies that will work with this. Dillon themselves makes a bunch of different trim dies. They range in price from about $60 up to about $200 for some of the carbide options. Also, Lineman has came out with some trim dies that will work with this. They're rather cost effective. They run about $40 to $50 or so if you can find them. Whidden Gunworks makes some trim dies as well. There's another company, CH4D, that makes them as well. There's several different companies that I'm not even going to list because they seem to pop up, go away, and then pop up again here and there. But the main four out there would be Dillon themselves, Whidden Gunworks, CH4D, and Lineman. So if you're in the market for trim dies, definitely check out those people's websites. And if I remember, I'll leave some links in the description to some of those different websites. So let's talk about price. I always like to be honest with my viewers and talk price because that's a big deal, right? This thing, I'm not going to lie to you guys, it is rather expensive. It's about a $370 unit. But for what it does and the convenience of it, I personally don't feel that it's that big of an expense. Especially if you decide to utilize this to convert 223 brass to 300 blackout. This thing will pay for itself in no time at all. You're going to save a bunch of time doing it. And if you do decide to, you could sell some of that converted brass to kind of make this thing pay for itself a little bit. So that's something there. Another thing I want to talk about with this trimmer is the fact that it just trims your cases. It doesn't chamfer and deburr. A lot of people compare this to the Girard trimmer. The Girard trimmer is a bench mounted trimmer where you actually have to insert the cases by hand and rotate them, and it's going to trim, chamfer, and deburr your cases all at the same time. The only downside that I would say to the Girard is the fact that you have to handle all those cases by hand. Also, you have to resize your cases before you trim them. So you have to run them through your press, then you have to sit there and hold them, and you have to insert them one at a time to trim it. Is it the biggest deal in the world? No. But with this trimmer, you just run your press. If you have a single stage press, you're still going to be handling the cases. But if you have a progressive press, especially one with a case feeder like I do, it makes it really easy because you just lube your cases in a box and then dump the box in your case feeder and just run it through. Now, I said this doesn't chamfer and deburr, and that is 100% true. But what a lot of people do, and I'm not telling you guys that you should do it, but I'm telling you guys kind of what I do and what a lot of people do, is we'll just run a Lineman M die. This is an expanding mandrel die. Lineman makes them. They're rather cost effective. What this is going to do is it's going to do two things that are important with this trimmer. It's going to open up the case mouth so it makes it easier to insert a bullet, because the trim die is going to size the case a little small because it gets retention in order to hold the case so it doesn't spin while the trimmer is cutting it. It really kind of squeezes it down. So running a Lineman M die is going to expand that neck and allow your bullet to seat nice whenever you get to that process. But the other big advantage to it is if there is a burr on the inside of that neck, it's going to open that up. And being that it opens the neck up, it's not the biggest deal even if there is a little bit of an edge there. Because that's mainly why you chamfer and deburr, right? You deburr the outside because you don't want sharp edges, number one, but you also don't want burrs or anything getting in the chambering of your rifle. But you want to be very careful with the inside because of the fact that you could get a burr in there and get it trapped in with some powder and stuff like that and possibly have a bad time. So if you run this M die, it's going to get rid of the burr on the inside. What I do to get rid of the burr on the outside is I'm going to run my cases back through the wet tumbler. The wet tumbler is going to clean them really nice. It's going to get that lube off there so I don't have to worry about the lube. And then whenever I get around to it, I'll prime my cases on the press and seat my bullet and crimp. So that's pretty much that in a nutshell. So it makes it really easy. So I almost do a two-part loading when utilizing this trimmer. I go through, I process my brass, I trim it, I do all that stuff. I run an expanding mandrel die, then I wet tumble my brass to get those burrs off and to clean the lube off, and then I run it through my press again to charge powder, prime, seat, and crimp if I decide to crimp. So that's kind of that. I know that was long-winded, but that covers kind of how you can get around the fact that it doesn't chamfer and deburr. If you still want to chamfer and deburr, you can use your case prep center or whatever. Just know if you want to chamfer and deburr at the same time, maybe the Girard would be a better option for you. Personally, I don't feel it's the biggest deal, because for me and my style of shooting, and specifically my style of reloading for my shooting, I need to pump out rounds. And I also need 300 blackout. So this is kind of the ticket. I know I've mentioned it before in the video, but I think it's the coolest thing in the world, and I think it's worth beating home again. This thing will literally convert 223-556 brass to 300 blackout with a pull of a handle. I know you can do it with a chop saw and trimming it and doing this and doing that, but literally with the pull of a handle, and you guys will see it in a future video, this thing will convert your 556 223 brass to 300 blackout. So guys, I'm pretty sure I covered everything as far as an overview that I could cover with this thing. We talked price, we talked accessories you're going to need. Again, depending on what caliber you're loading, there's different things that you could need. For example, with the 300 blackout, you're going to need a short tool head if you're running it on a Dillon, because 300 blackout's a smaller case. But we'll cover all that stuff in the 300 blackout video. So as I said, the next video you guys will see after this should be the 223 video. So we're gonna set this thing up, and I'll show you guys how I use it to process the 223. We'll cover setup, and we'll actually run some cases through it and show you it in action, show you how well of a job it does and stuff like that. And then in another future video, we'll show you guys everything you need to load 300 blackout. We'll cover the parts, the accessories, we'll cover the process, we'll show you guys how awesome it is, and that's that. So yeah guys, if you guys would like to, I definitely appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button and ring the bell. It would greatly help me out. Guys, thanks for all the support that's been coming into the channel. You viewers are what makes the channel. You guys are absolutely awesome. Guys, as always, remember to train hard, shoot fast, and most importantly, be safe. God bless.